first section is Amy Taylor North. If you could come up and join us. And she is also running for office, and I'm going to let her tell you all about that.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for being here tonight. As was mentioned, I'm Amy Taylor North, which is a pretty good name to have when you're running for the North Carolina House. I ran in 2024, and so many people who are sitting in this room tonight were a huge part of why that campaign was so successful. We exceeded expectations. We closed an 8-point gap, R+8 gap, down to about 2%. We won over 48% of the vote, and that was after we were gerrymandered, like everyone, in the October preceding our election. So the state party called last year, asked if our campaign was up to run again, and we are, and we're so happy to have their support this year. So thanks for letting me share a little bit about that with you. And I do want to say to everyone who holds office, everyone who's running for office, and all the folks, probably a lot of you who are here tonight supporting candidates, thank you, because it really does take all of us. My district is in District 74, which is Western Forsyth County. So if you think about Louisville, Clemens, all the way up to Tobaccoville, we do have a portion of Winston-Salem, which is around Calvary Baptist Church and everything west. All right. So to all of our candidates, there will be 2 questions for each of you, and then we'll break into our separate questions. If you'll tell us just a little bit about yourself, you have 2 minutes each, about your experience and what has you running for office this time.
Where should we start?
We can start with you.
Okay, great. So I am Judge Cheryl Andrews McDonald. I have practiced law here in Forsyth County for now 20 years, 19 years before I took the bench. I was appointed by Governor Josh Stein last year in 2025, but I want to tell you why. And that's because of that 19 years of experience practicing law. I was in the public defender's office boot camp for young lawyers the first 4 years of my career. And then I went into private practice, which allowed me to expand into all the different types of law, all the different areas of law. And more than that, it enabled me to deal with all different types of people. Because someone earlier mentioned about listening and communication. Those things are very important. Listening is a very important skill to have. Communicating with other people is something that you learn over time. And being able to deal with all sorts of people in all sorts of situations, sometimes the worst situations in their life, has enabled me to have an understanding and the ability to listen and discern what's going on in someone's life. So my experience, my own life experiences, in fact, have taught me a lot. Not just the law, but I've had the experience of being a plaintiff in a case. So I know that when people come before the court, they need to be heard. They need to know that the court is listening, the court is applying the law, and it's the most important thing in their life at that time. And so all of those things have prepared me to be where I am today, serving the people of Forsyth County. I was born in Durham, North Carolina. I've been in Forsyth County now for 25 years. It's been a pleasure, and I very much enjoy serving.
Well, thank you all so much for having me. Just for orientation, I'm running for the Court of Appeals. Seat 3 is the same seat as the video presentation. So you'll have 2 choices. It's statewide, and in some areas, it's that and the U.S. Senate race are the only thing on the ballot. I know here we have lots on the ballot, and hopefully there'll be high turnout and people can really participate in picking our Democratic nominees. I'm thrilled to be here in part because I started my legal career just around the corner clerking for Judge Loretta Biggs here in Winston-Salem as part of the Federal District Court. I'm James Whalen, and I'm now part of a small group of North Carolina attorneys who have been fighting to protect our rights in high-profile cases on the front lines. I previously served in Josh Stein's Department of Justice, where I fought gerrymandering, fought for our public schools, and held domestic abusers accountable. And last year, when an extreme judge tried to steal an election, I defended our votes and Justice Allison Riggs' victory. That experience and all of my experiences together have taught me that we can win on the law, and we have been winning on the law, but we've been losing on the politics. And Democrats have lost every Court of Appeals race since 2018, and that's a big problem. You're going to hear more about the differences in our courts, but our appellate courts, our Court of Appeals, and our Supreme Court, they have incredible power over our elections, our public schools, our fundamental rights. And when we keep losing these elections, our rights get taken away. We can win them, but we have to change the way we do things. We have to learn from our past mistakes and run a different kind of race. And that means supporting candidates who have experience protecting our rights and who can campaign credibly on protecting our rights to voters, and who will speak clearly with voters about the damage the current majorities have done and the threats we face. We haven't always been comfortable doing that, and that's a hard thing to learn, but we have learned that if we run that kind of race, we can win and we can protect our rights. So I'm eager to answer your questions. Again, James Phelan, running for the Court of Appeals. Thank you.
You guys hear book? I don't think it's on.
Okay, there we go. That's better. Thank you for being here. My name is Lauren Tuttle. I'm running for District Court Judge. I currently serve the county as an assistant public defender. I was laughing when I think Blair was sharing. I have always been in a service job, retail clerk, bartender, food server. I went into the law later in life. My daughter, when she was born, I had always wanted to be a lawyer. And it occurred to me that I didn't want to get to a place in my life where I had to tell my daughter that I didn't go after the thing that I wanted because I was afraid to do so. She is now a 16-year-old junior at Mount Tabor High School. I've been with my husband for almost 20 years. We also own a business. We fix cars. And prior to the PD's office, I worked as an associate in a firm. So there I did have some exposure to civil law, family law, child custody, abuse and neglect, landlord-tenant, other civil disputes. I appeared in both criminal and civil court there. In criminal court now, where I am every day in district court, I'm in multiple courtrooms every day. As assistant public defenders, we carry incredibly large caseloads. Discipline is required. Attention to detail is a must. We see all kinds of people from all walks of life in all types of situations. I have earned everything that I have, and you earn trust through consistency, you earn respect through fairness, and you earn authority by doing the work, day after day, even when no one's looking, and I'm committed to that process. As I said, I am disciplined, and I don't take lightly the impact of the things that come from the bench. I will show up focused, attentive, and neutral. I can handle the high stakes decisions. I feel very passionate about what I do, and defending people's constitutional rights is imperative. My name is Lauren Tuttle. I'm asking for your support. I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
Ms. Tuttle, please remain standing.
Oh, that's right. I just watched that whole thing too.
We're gonna go all the way back down the line. And I think a lot of you have answered this, but the question is, what about your legal background and your experience have prepared you for this judicial role?
Well, lately, like I said, just the simple fact of what I have to accomplish every day has prepared me for this enhancement of my commitment to service. I have to meet people where they are all the time. You have to be objective, and that is an active thing, not a passive thing. You never make assumptions about what you think might be true. You're looking at each case on its facts, and you're applying the law without any sort of prejudice. And I think that because I'm in court so much, I mean, our caseloads are 150 to 200 cases. You just get a wide range of exposure and a large opportunity to think on your feet in a multitude of situations. And like I said, the fundamental thing is that we must make sure that every client's well, not clients, 'cause I won't be a lawyer anymore, I'll be a judge, but that every person standing at the bench, that their constitutional rights are being upheld. Doesn't matter what you look like, where you live, private lawyer, public lawyer, color of your skin, none of that has anything to do with it.
Our courts handle a lot of very important cases, but at the appellate level right now, the most important thing that we can bring to the court is experience protecting our rights. We are in a crisis. I don't think anybody in this room needs convincing of that. And whether it's the federal government or our state government, our rights are being shredded. And in North Carolina, to some extent, it is the breeding ground for this stuff. We've seen gerrymandering back in the news all across the country. Well, the reason that it's a fight again is because North Carolina was the testing ground, and gerrymandered the crap out of North Carolina, and smart attorneys brought that to the federal courts and said, hey, we have a federal constitution here, we got due process, we got free speech. Surely we have protections from this type of extreme partisan gerrymandering, and the federal court said, nope, we're not involved, we don't care, take it to your state courts. So we did. And we took the challenge to our state courts, and we said, okay, the federal courts aren't going to do anything, but we have the state constitution. It's even more protective than the federal constitution. It guarantees free elections. It guarantees free speech. Surely, our extreme partisan gerrymandering is unconstitutional. And we actually won. You might not remember, but we won in 2022. Our state Supreme Court, which at the time was 4 Democrats and 3 Republicans, ruled that extreme partisan gerrymandering is unconstitutional. North Carolina had a 7-7 congressional delegation, 7 Democrats, 7 Republicans. And I took that, the legislature appealed that up to the US Supreme Court. And as part of the Department of Justice, I defended that decision and said that our state courts can restrict extreme partisan gerrymandering. But we lost on the politics. And the next cycle, Republicans won the court majority and reheard the case, something they almost never do, and eliminated that. That's just one of many examples of how we need people whose experience is litigating in our appellate courts and protecting our rights, because we're in this moment of crisis. There's a way out, but we have to have the right approach. That's what I hope to bring.
And Amy, you're correct. We've all sort of focused on our experience. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the reason I became a lawyer and the reason I've now become a judge. It's because I believe in the justice system. I believe that it should work. I believe that it can work. But we have to have people who put in the work and do their job ethically and to the fullest of their ability, protecting the rights of the people. For 20 years, 19 years, that's what I did as an attorney. And I believe that time I spent doing that taught me and helped me understand how each and every person within the system can operate to make it work. I'm not a fool. I know it doesn't always work, but it takes people, boots on the ground, and that's the kind of person I am. I am here to take action, and I'm here to make a difference. And so boots on the ground, people saying, I'm gonna step up, I'm gonna take action, I'm gonna be one of those people who make sure that everything is taken care of, that people are treated fairly, with respect, that they are heard. I join a very good bench of lawyers and judges up on the bench. And I'm proud to be a part of that. And we are doing exactly that every day. We are making sure that the justice system works.
Thank you, and please remain standing. We'll
Sure.
start the next question. This is the second of 2 that you'll all answer. What values or principles guide your judicial philosophy, and how do you plan to apply them in your decisions and the bench?
This is a great question. We are all human beings. Every single person. I have found myself repeating this over the years many, many times. The person standing next to me when I was a lawyer is a human being. They all have different experiences, different perspectives, different places that they come from, and it is essential that we remember that. From the bench, it's essential that we remember that these are people in front of us, and the things and the decisions that we make affect them but it also affects their family and it affects their community. And if we can help people believe in the justice system and believe that they will get a fair shot, that they will be heard, then I believe we can increase the faith in the legal community altogether. And if we can increase our people's faith that once you go to court, you're gonna be heard, the law's gonna be applied fairly to you, no matter who you are, what you look like, then I firmly believe that that can help increase the safety of our communities. If we know that the court system will handle it, but we have to have faith in our court system to make the right decisions.
We talked about this briefly with the Congress people, that at the federal system we have 3 branches of government, and Congress needs to be able to have power to check the abuses of the executive. In North Carolina, we have 3 branches of government, and we have a court system, and particularly at the appellate level, Supreme Court and a Court of Appeals that are there to check the abuses of the other 2 branches of government. And one of those other branches of government, the legislature, has been very abusive. Whether we talked about gerrymandering already, another example that I think has come up a lot. Since I was a kid, our state has failed to honor its constitution to its constitutional promise to its children of sound, basic public education. I know that because a court said so about my school district, that my school district was underfunded. I'm from Charlotte. Don't hold it against me. And now I got my own 4-year-old. And it's worse now than when I was a kid. We can't have a system where the legislature is allowed free rein to do what it wishes regardless of what the Constitution says. The Constitution is the law, and our courts are there to apply them. So my judicial philosophy, I think all power derives from people. The people express what the rules will be through their Constitution. They've delegated to the judiciary the power and the duty to apply that Constitution, particularly when it comes to protecting people's rights, particularly when it comes to protecting the rights of people who cannot protect themselves, like our children. If we have a judiciary that will do that, our state will be so much better off.
The Constitution, oh, it went off, I'm sorry. It's blinking, does that mean the battery's dying?
Probably.
Okay, thank you. I don't know what to do with it now, thank you. Yeah, holding up people's constitutional rights, it's not negotiable. It must be a priority. I think as far as judicial philosophy, I think that it is possible to know the law, respect the law, apply the law with neutrality, but I also think that there can be empathy mixed in to understand that, you have the power to alter people's lives, impact their livelihood. You are the person who's deciding what's in the best interest of a child. So I think that empathy is a critical skill. And I think that the judiciary resources have to be used with efficiency, right? And we don't want to set people up to fail. So we want to think carefully about, what we're wanting people to comply with, making sure that they understand what they're responsible to comply with, making sure they don't, a lot of my clients leave the courtroom, they have no idea what's going on. They're so happy to get out of there, they don't really care what you said. So I mean, that sort of thing, it takes a couple extra seconds to confirm, do you understand everything I just said? Do you understand what you're gonna have to do moving forward? Because in my current job, that's a lot of times what gets our clients into trouble. So I think that is the condensed version of that statement is there must be equity, empathy, and efficiency, with the underpinnings of always acknowledging that the Constitution is king, and that our jobs as judicial officials, we must always be neutral and stay committed to that neutrality. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tuttle. Now we're going to divide and conquer. Ms. Tuttle, we'll start with you. We have 3 questions, and those running for the district court will answer those, and we'll have 3 for you, Mr. Whalen. First question, the district court handles a wide range of cases including civil, criminal, juvenile, and family matters. How do you plan to ensure fair and impartial treatment for all the litigants who come before you?
Well, I mean, I think my prior statement kind of speaks to that, but the reality is that's the job. If you want this job, and here we have to run for this job, but you get into it knowing that neutrality is king. Like, judges don't pick sides, you can't have favorites, and the law is what is guiding, the law and precedent is what is guiding your decisions. Can you tell me the back half of the question again, please?
Sure. How do you plan to ensure fair and impartial treatment for all litigants who come before you?
Okay, like I said, that's the job. I mean, there isn't another option. I think that by listening carefully, by treating each individual case in its own environment, making sure that you're paying attention to detail, making sure that you are referencing the law, that you are looking for precedent. It's not about what I think. It's about, in criminal context, it's about, what the state can prove. In the civil context, it's about whatever the evidence is before you and credibility. I mean, these are the functions, the cornerstones of the job. I mean, you just have, I don't know, I don't mean to be mocking the question, but impartiality is just, it is what it is. That's what judges do.
Thank you. Do you need me to repeat the question?
Could you please?
Sure. District Court handles a wide range of cases, including criminal, juvenile, civil, and family matters. How do you plan to ensure fair and impartial treatment to all litigants?
So that goes back to my recognition that we're all human beings. Something that I have learned is that in the many different courtrooms, you see people come in with their high-priced lawyers. You see people come in with their public defenders, who are some of our best lawyers. And you see a lot of people come in representing themselves, especially in our civil courts, in our family courts, and they're doing the very best that they can. And I don't think we cannot discriminate against someone because they don't use the terminology that we expect them to use. We have to communicate. We have to understand, listen. Communication is listening. We have to be able to listen and understand what it is they're trying to tell us. If you don't give someone a fair shot at being heard, there's no way you can give them a fair and impartial hearing. So especially with our pro se, I've dealt a lot over the last few weeks with pro se defendants, people representing themselves, doing their very best to navigate a complicated system. And it takes that listening ear. It takes that recognition that this is a human being. They're doing their very best to communicate something with me. If you have a lawyer, that lawyer is going to have more of the language and the linguistics that we're used to. Doesn't make their case any different. It might sound better, but it doesn't make any different, and it doesn't change the law or change the merits of the law. So just applying the law as it stands fairly to everyone, no matter how it's presented to you, is how I'm going to do that, and I am doing that.
Thank you, and thanks for remaining standing. We all have two more questions. Okay, so here comes number 2. Forsyth County, like many communities, faces challenges such as substance abuse, mental health issues, domestic violence. How do you plan to address these issues within the scope of your responsibility?
So we are very fortunate in Forsyth County to have some specialty courts that deal with these very issues. We have drug court, we have mental health court. Those things are addressing the root causes of why people come in. Some people come into the court system. You know, if you don't think about what brought somebody into the court system, you can't imagine a way to keep them from coming back into the court system. So we address it that way. We address it by having an understanding of what those people have experienced in their lives. I've had a lot of very different experiences in my life that have informed me about humanity and about people. And I think I've been able to see that as a blessing. and as an education. But particularly just understanding that these are community problems. As a judge, if I can find a way, and if I can see a way to help rehabilitate a person, what is better? What is better than to make their life better, their family's life better, and our community better? If we can do that, we can address those issues. I can't change the law. The law is what it is. So if the law has been broken, then I have to address that. But if we have a program or something can help keep that person from coming back, that's how I plan to do that.
Thank you.
So, I'll just ask you to read it. I think I got it, but better to be safe than sorry.
Forsyth County, like many communities, faces challenges such as substance abuse, mental health, and domestic violence. How do you plan to address these issues in your scope of responsibility?
Okay, so I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. One of the things I like to do is to think about when I'm a judge, I'm going to do it this way. And since I'm in district court so much, I have a lot of time in between while I'm waiting for my cases to be called and I'm watching what's going on between the judge and the citizens. You know, oftentimes I'll find myself sort of heading into that zone. And Friday, I was at a United Way luncheon sitting next to the retired Honorable Denise Hartsfield. And I asked her, because since I'm not a judge yet, I don't necessarily know all the rules, but I said to her, is it permissible that in addition to, obviously, because one thing that we have a judge here tonight that was also very good at this, having knowledge about things out in the community that might be able to offer some more extended services that are germane to whatever the person is standing in front of you about. And so what I asked Judge Hartsfield was, couldn't we create like a cheat sheet or some kind of directory so that when you have somebody standing in front of you, and if they have a substance abuse problem, and you have knowledge of some entity out in the community that might be able to assist them, couldn't we just, do that? Like, is that against the rules? And she said, no, it's not. So I think in that game of what I want to do when I'm a judge is that if you're out in the community and you're keeping your thumb on the pulse of things, you can have knowledge about those entities. And when somebody is standing in front of you with a mental health issue or a substance abuse issue, you can offer, hey, if you're inclined to, you can check out this list. I mean, you can't make people do things, but you can go the extra mile to offer them some information. Thanks.
Thank you. And here's the last question. Thanks for remaining standing.
Well, it took me the whole time.
What role can the district court play when addressing juvenile violence and crime?
So because I currently work as an assistant PD, we have to deal with that in the office all the time. Like, recently in the news, the things that you're seeing, a lot of times those clients come through our office. And it's so difficult. It takes an emotional toll. But the thing is, more and more, as we continue to see a rise in these things happening in schools, if we want to get something different, it's just like every other area of your life. You have to do something different. And so, again, like the last question, there are organizations out there that are trying to do something different. I mean, I off the top of my head, because I was making notes about this the other day, but there's this David Villada. He does for boxing. He teaches boys, so they have some other outlet for that aggression. We have Alexia Mitchell. I met her during some of the Kwanzaa celebrations that I attended during this campaigning period. She has relationships with Atrium Health, Smart Start. So she's offering healing of the body, healing of the mind. So I think that the way that we're seeing this increase with the violence in schools, weapons in school, I really think we're gonna have to take a kind of aggressive and radical approach. And again, it has to do with going beyond the bench to offer this information, to give alternatives, because kids are inundated with violence, they're inundated with the news, they're inundated with imagery on social media platforms. We can't fix all that, you know, so I think our best hope is to be committed to doing something different when it comes to the rise of violence amongst our juveniles. And I think one of the ways that we can do that, again, is to be knowledgeable about services that extend past the bench.
I hear this question for many candidates running for all the different types of offices, because juvenile crime is, it does weigh heavy on our hearts. And what I have learned in my experience is that when you look into these kids, these kids' lives and where they come from, you often wonder, what other options did they see before them? What other community did they have to seek out? So I agree that being involved in community organizations, encouraging people to be involved in community organizations, informing our community about how we can get involved and mentor people, those are all great ideas and suggestions. But it goes back to increasing our ability and our faith and our belief in how the justice system works, and that it does work for everyone, that it can work, should work, and will work with me for everyone, to try and get the attention of these young people. There's not a blanket answer. If there was a blanket answer, we would have fixed it already. But giving them alternatives, I wish I had the answer for this. As a judge, I listen. As a judge, I participate in my community. As a judge, I see that we need to offer them alternatives, help them understand that there's life beyond this. It's not, trust me, you're not 15 forever. One day, we can give you the hope that you'll be 30 and you'll have a good job. I think that's a big solution.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Whalen, the next three are all yours.
I was getting pretty good at this passing the mic thing.
You might go, yeah, you were, and thank you for that. All right, transparency and accountability are essential for maintaining trust in the judiciary. How do you plan to engage with the community and uphold high ethical standards as an appellate court judge?
So there are a couple of different, Court of Appeals judges sit for 8 years, and that makes it hard to hold them politically accountable, although I'm going to get to that second. There's also a Judicial Standards Commission, and the Judicial Standards Commission investigates all complaints against all of our state judges, but right now it basically works in secret. And we've seen various reports of partisanship within the Judicial Standards Commission, the commission that's supposed to be regulating our judges, and that because of influence from the Chief Justice and others, that if you complain against a sitting Republican judge, your complaint disappears, and there's no record of, there's no way to find out how the investigation went, but there's no consequences in the end. And the flip side, the commission has doggedly gone after Justice Nita Earls, mostly just for speaking her mind, and for particularly calling out racial discrimination in the courthouse. And so one of the quickest ways to improve transparency is to change the way the Judicial Standards Commission works so that it is transparent. The other couple of small things, Court of Appeals judges are generally required to sign their opinions to say that this is what I think, and this is why I think it, and this is why I'm ruling the way I'm ruling. But more and more, our court has issued unpublished decisions where they make a decision, but it's not binding, and so they're a little bit less careful about their reasoning. And in the Allison Riggs fight, the decision that would have thrown out 60,000 some votes was unsigned. We know who the panelists were, so we know who the two votes were. Toby Hampson, the third vote, dissented, so we know who the two were who thought it was a good idea, but they didn't have, I guess, the courage to say, I believe in this, and so I'm going to put my name on it. So I think we have to sign our opinions. I got like 10 seconds left. The main way we hold our judges accountable is by voting them out. We have a current court majority that has done damage to our state, and that's because Democrats have lost every Court of Appeals race since 2018. And with the next question, I will follow up and tell you what we're going to do to fix that.
The next question is, what is the one thing you would like to see changed about the court to which you are seeking to be elected?
Great. I'd like to be on it. And a few of my peers. I really do. I believe that we need a whole new generation of young attorneys, and not necessarily young age, but a whole new generation with a different perspective running for our appellate courts. As I mentioned, we've lost all these races, and we have to find a new way. And Allison Riggs taught us how to do this, right? She was true to her values, and she ran with integrity, but she was clear. She explained that if you vote for the other guy signed on to an opinion that said that life begins at conception, which would unravel and upend healthcare in North Carolina. If you vote for that guy, that's what you get. If you vote for me, you get something different. It wasn't a promise of how she would rule in a case, but she was clear about her values. And I'm able to provide that level of clarity because that's been my background as an attorney. I can tell you that our state has done damage by allowing extreme partisan gerrymandering because I fought gerrymandering in our Department of Justice. I can tell you that they did damage to our elections by trying to throw out votes because I'm one of the attorneys who stopped them. We already talked about my experience in our public schools and the experience that's soon to come when my son goes off to kindergarten. That it allows me to talk clearly to swing voters who basically have been voting for Democrats at the top of the ticket and then skipping the Court of Appeals races. And maybe they're even voting for the Republicans in the Court of Appeals races because the Republicans have given them a reason. They've said, vote for me and I'll stop all the crime. Which isn't our job really at all. Like the Court of Appeals has criminal cases, and I've been an appellate attorney that's worked on criminal cases, but by the time it gets to us, the person's already in jail. So, actually already in prison. So it's not really up to the Court of Appeals to stop the crime. Our job is to protect our rights, and the current court majority has done a terrible job of that. So if we could change something, which we can, it's to have a sustained effort over multiple cycles to elect a new generation that has experience protecting our rights and are willing to be clear with you about how that will impact your life when we're elected.
Thank you. And finally, how have you seen the role of the appellate court change over the last 10 years?
More of these constitutional rights cases are being filed in North Carolina, and there are a couple of reasons for that. I'll talk about voting as a specific example, and if we lose these little red cards up here, I'll give you some more examples. But we election lawyers typically file our lawsuits in federal court because there's this thing called the Voting Rights Act that a lot of people worked really, really hard to get, and it provided all these remedies to say that if state officials in North Carolina discriminated based on race, it was even expanded out to protect other protections for voting, then the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, would give us remedies in our federal courts. We also believed for some time that gerrymandering could be solved in our federal courts. Our federal courts protected women's health care access. There are all these things that our federal courts were doing relatively well, and in the last decade, roughly, they've been rolled back in a dramatic way, and I think everybody in the room probably has paid close attention to how that's happened. Well, that means it's now the state court's job, and the state courts have the power. I went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court to make sure that our state courts have the power to restrict extreme partisan gerrymandering, protect our votes, protect healthcare decisions, protect our right to public schools, First Amendment due process. Our states have that right. And so the Court of Appeals has basically two jobs. It's lumping a lot of things together, but one of them is to check the homework of the trial judges, and that's often an abuse of discretion type standard. Something happens at trial that you don't like, you go up for a second opinion, like the replay booth in football, and you try to get a second opinion on how it happened. But there's also this whole collection of cases that are filed in typically Superior Court just to go up to the appellate courts. No offense, but the appellate courts don't care what the Superior Courts do in those cases. They're reviewed de novo. We all know it's going at least to the Court of Appeals, and if the Supreme Court wants it, to the state Supreme Court. But 90-some% of them stop at the Court of Appeals. Those are the cases that impact the most people. Those are the cases that impact us for the longest amount of time, and that's the type we have to be prepared to deal with when we get there.
Thank you very much to all of you.